What is going on, everybody? Darrell, the Whiskey Saint, back for another Whiskey Wednesday. And we're going to be keeping it trucking, man. We're diving into Matt Madness pretty soon. So, we got to try to stay on our toes, banging into some more of these blinds, see if I can maybe bottle guess something. Done pretty well with you guys in the past. So, we're going to keep it rolling, see what I pull out of this box, and see how close I do get or maybe not get to it. Hopefully, I can pick something out of it, right? But stay tuned. If you're new to our channel, hit that like and subscribe. We're going to kick this show off. Cheers. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. And we're going to get this rolling, man. Speaking of Matt Madness, man, I'm pretty pumped. Got invited last year to do it and missed one little sample that caused me not to get into the full competition. And I was pretty upset with myself. But I've been practicing, been doing a lot of blinds with the guys in the past, not specifically for this, just in general. And I think my palate's gotten a lot better. I know what you guys, I called a few bottles, in the past and just working to try to just remember, right? It's not so much just pulling the notes off a tasting for me. It's basically associating a certain taste with a certain memory from a certain bottle. And that's how I found myself to kind of get a little better at this whole blinding aspect of the whiskey game. But I got my handy dandy box over here, guys. We're going to pull out a sample and, see how close we can potentially get to nailing this. We'll talk about proof and all that good stuff. So this one, I'm not looking. I don't want to cheat. Doesn't help if I cheat, guys. So I'm going to make sure the label is turned outward, which I believe this is. It looks like there's a lot of stickers or something on it, but hopefully you guys can see what that says. I'll rotate it a bit. Both sides. I'm going to turn my head away, cover that up. And it looks like we dived into this partially at some point because it's not really full. But we're going to pour that completely out. And throw that into that lovely golden whiskey nose glutton. Throw it in there, guys. And we're going to dive in. Spin it up a bit. Just checking out the color. Decent color. Nothing crazy dark, nor is it very light. So not giving me those Scotch and Irish vibes that I've gotten a few times on some whiskey once I poured it and seen how light it was. But this looks like just a standard, bourbon or rye or so. It could be Scotch, but it would be a pretty dark one. Let's go on the nose, guys. Cheers to you all. So I got a little funky note that I usually get off of some decent aged whiskey, but something in the back part of that nose doesn't really give me high age. It has a nice oak presence, but I would be surprised if this was, over 10 years on the nose. Nose is nice though. Nice vanilla, it's caramel. It's just traditional bourbon. This doesn't come across as a rye to me at all. A little bit of tartness in there. But yeah, some nice vanilla, some sweet oak, nice oak. It's a little citrusy up front, almost like a slight berry and like a berry orange or something of that nature. But not so dark. It's not dark actually on the palate at all. Or on the nose, should I say. But yeah, nice oak presence. Barrel char. Yeah, but a really, really tart note, which I can't put my finger on it. All right, enough with the nose. Let's go in for a taste, see if I can pick this apart, guys. Cheers. Ooh, well, that's easy drinking, but really, really pleasant on the palate. Finish kind of tapered off already, but there's some lingering flavor on like the inside of my cheeks. I'm gonna definitely have to go for another sip. For what I think is relatively low proof, it's sticking to the glass a bit. Let's go in for another sip. That one was a little tough to kind of pull some good flavors off, but it was nice. That's really interesting. Like it reminds me of something I've had, but not something that I drink frequently enough to really be like, hey, this is maybe from this distillery or whatever the case is. It doesn't throw like those immediate thoughts at me like I've had this multiple times. Like I may own this bottle because it does taste familiar, but I'll tell you it's a bottle that, I'm rarely that I rarely touch. Proof is low. Like I'm thinking maybe it's got to be sub 110. I'm like in that 105 to 107 range. 108 maybe. Has a has a funkiness to it that I sometimes get off of weeders. Like weeders like especially Maker's Mark, which I don't think this is Maker's Mark, but they come across to me as like this. It's a funky note which I don't know. Um, but I need to probably drink a little bit more of Makers to really get that profile down. Like I don't really care for Makers that much besides the cash strength, but there's a certain note that I want to get very familiar with. So if these are in blinds, I can kind of distinguish them. But this is bringing me down that road of like that funky weediness that I get on some Makers. Although I do not think this is Makers because this is actually pretty dang good. Let's take another sip. Just a very easy drinking whiskey. I'll be very, very surprised if this is a rye. Like I'm thinking bourbon, definitely thinking somewhere in Kentucky. Doesn't give me MGP vibes, doesn't give me like any like Tennessee or like, across the country in terms of state of distillations. Just seems like a conventional Kentucky bourbon with that funky note, which makes me think it's a weeded bourbon. Hopefully, I can tell by the label if it has a decent amount of writing. I know sometimes the labels aren't as, what's the word I'm thinking of, just descriptive in a sense, right? So hopefully there's a good amount of writing on there so I know exactly what it is. But yeah, if I had to guess, guys, we're thinking bourbon. I'm thinking Kentucky in terms of state. This does not come across finished at all to me. Weeded bourbon, what's in that range? Like, I don't really like. I want to say like a Weller 107, but like I have a standard one, and I haven't drank it in forever to really really know. But this comes across weeded to me. Comes around that proof point. It drinks similar to the E.H. Taylor straight rye I have, just in terms of just a couple of the notes and just the flavor on it. But obviously, I do not think this is a rye, but just has some similarities to that, guys. I'm going to take one more sip, and I think we're just going to cut it. We'll see. Yeah, I'm thinking Kentucky, bourbon. I don't want to go all in on like a Weller 107 because I'm not positive if that's it, but that would probably be my guess, though. I'm trying to think what other weeders. There's Rebel, but I just had Rebel not too long ago. That's around that proof point. That's 100. This drink's a little bit above that. Hmm. Whatever it is, I do really enjoy this whiskey. It's just like it's one of those everyday sippers. Like you could sit there and just pour this and not be mad about it. Has really nice flavor, doesn't blow you out of the water with proof, but just leaves a lingering mouthfeel and flavors on your mouth that are just really, really nice. But yeah, it's that funkiness which I enjoy that makes me think weeder. But I could be absolutely wrong, guys. We're about to reveal this in a minute. But yeah, so Kentucky, if I had to think age, I'm thinking 5 to 8 years max. I would be surprised if it's over 10. Bourbon for sure, not finished. If I had to say distillery, I would say Buffalo Trace and go with Owella 107. It's kind of a shot in the dark, but I'm just trying to think of some weeders that are around that proof point that kind of tasted like this, and that just reminded me of like the E.H. Taylor rye. I know it's a rye, not a bourbon, but just similar notes. But I know you guys probably already know already, but let's take a peek at what I was drinking, guys. Holy crap. I don't know if I've ever had a pick. I don't think I've ever tasted a pick. But holy shit, guys. Take a look at that one more time. Weller 107. This is Crown Liquors. They called it the Archie. So that is, if that's not a headshot, what is? Holy crap. Yeah, it's funny because it reminded me of the E.H. Taylor rye. Just not as rye forward in a sense. And that's only 100 proof too, but a lot of very, very similar flavors. Initially, though, on the nose, like I don't get Buffalo Trace. Like you're not getting that berry, and I've gotten that on some weeders, like some of the full proofs and the William LaRue's. Like you still get some of that cherry and that berry. Like that's not really present on here, but it was something on this that reminded me of that E.H. Taylor. The proof point was in that range of what this would have been, and just that funky, like it's just I don't know what the note is that makes me think wheat or made me think wheat, but I need to nose a couple more wheat whiskey or wheated bourbons to try to distinguish what that note is for me. But dude, I called exactly what it was. It was a pick. It wasn't a regular one, but hey, it's still Weller 107. Kentucky, 107 proof. I did say like 5 to 8. I think these are actually in that range. Maybe a little younger, but literally called the bottle. Holy crap. If that's not something to get pumped about from Matt Madness, man, hopefully I can do this well in the actual competition, guys. I'll start nailing all these bottles, then get in there and just like flub it. Hopefully that's not the case, but I'm actually pretty pumped with that. Man, that's probably like 3 or 4 like headshots, man, since I've been doing this. There's been about maybe 15, but if you can call out, 20% of them, that's actually still pretty good in my opinion. So I'm actually pretty happy with that, guys. I don't want to keep you too long. It's been real. Till next Wednesday, you guys take care. Cheers.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends,